My name is Whitney Henderson. I'm 38. 3 weeks ago, I sat in a hospital room and watched my mother try to form words after a stroke. And the first full sentence she managed was, "Your brother told me you didn't want me anymore." That sentence broke something open inside me. Because for 18 months, I'd been calling, texting, driving 4 hours to visit, and my brother, Derek, had been blocking every single attempt. He moved back into Mom's house after his divorce. He told her I abandoned her. He changed her phone number. He redirected her bank statements to a P.O. box in his name. And while my 71-year-old mother sat alone in that house, believing her daughter forgot about her, Derek drained her savings account. $340,000, 247 withdrawals. The last one was made at the hospital ATM 3 hours after Mom's stroke. Before I tell you exactly how I found out and what I did about it, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you think this story is worth hearing. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now, let me take you back 18 months to the day my brother moved back into Mom's house and everything started to change. Derek called me on a Tuesday in March. I was at my desk at Richmond Memorial, buried in a stack of insurance claims, when his name lit up my phone. He never called during work hours. I picked up and heard something I hadn't heard since we were kids. My older brother crying. His wife Tammy had filed for divorce. She got the house in Henry County. She got primary custody of their 2 boys, Mason and Tyler. Derek had 30 days to find somewhere to live. "I've got nothing, Whit," he said. "I've got a duffel bag and a maxed out credit card." I didn't hesitate. "Move in with Mom. She's been alone since Dad died. She'd love having you there." He paused. "You think she'd be okay with that?" "Derek, she asks about you every time I call. I phoned Mom that night." Dorothy Henderson, 71 years old, retired elementary school teacher, living alone in the same 3-bedroom house in Millfield, Virginia. White picket fence, azalea bushes along the driveway, the porch swing Dad built the summer before he got sick. She said yes before I finished the sentence. I wired Derek $2,000 the next morning. Moving expenses, first month's groceries. He texted back, "You're the only one who gets it. Whit. Thank you." 2 weeks later, my neighbor Patty Greer, Mom's best friend for 20-some years, called me. "Your mom is so happy," she said. "Derek's cooking dinner every night. It's like the house has life in it again." I smiled. I really did. Then Patty added, almost as an afterthought, "Oh, Derek told me not to mention it, but your mama took a little fall last week. She's fine, though." I called Derek that night. He laughed it off. "She slipped on the porch steps. I was right there. Didn't want you to worry." I let it go. He was my brother. Why wouldn't I? The first month was normal. I called Mom every Sunday at 6, same as always. She told me about the garden, about the new curtains Derek hung in the kitchen, about the pot roast he made that was almost as good as Dad's. "Almost. Not quite," she said, and we both laughed. By the second month, the calls got shorter. "Mom, how are you feeling?" "Tired, honey. I'm tired." "Did you go to Dr. Patel this week?" "Derek took me. I'm fine." Then she'd hand the phone to Derek, or he'd already be on the line. "Mom's resting, Whit. I'll have her call you back." She never did. Every month, I transferred $500 into Mom's checking account. Her medication co-pays, groceries, the little things pension didn't quite cover. I'd been doing it since Dad passed. It was automatic. I never expected a thank you, but Mom always mentioned it. "Got your deposit, sweetheart. You don't have to do that." Every single month, until she stopped mentioning it. "Derek, did Mom get the transfer this month?"
"Yeah, she said thanks. She just forgot to tell you. My mother taught 2nd grade for 31 years. She wrote thank you cards for thank you cards." Dorothy Henderson did not forget, but I told myself she was adjusting. Having Derek in the house was a change. She was probably just settling into a new routine. I checked my bank app. The transfers were going through. Same account, same amount, every month. The money was landing. That was enough. I didn't have access to her savings account. I'd never needed it. She was my mother, not my client. And Derek was there. Derek was handling things. That's what I kept telling myself. May rolled around. Tax season had finally loosened its grip. I'd been working 60-hour weeks at the hospital, reconciling billing codes until my eyes crossed. I picked up the phone to call Mom on a Sunday evening and heard 3 sharp tones. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I called again. Same message. I tried her cell, disconnected. My hands went cold. I dialed Derek. "Oh yeah, Mom switched carriers. New number." He rattled off 10 digits. "Sorry, I forgot to send it to you." I called the new number Monday morning. Voicemail. Tuesday. Voicemail. Wednesday. Voicemail. I left messages each time. Gentle ones. Hey mom, just checking in. Call me when you can. No call back. The following Saturday, I drove 4 hours south to Millfield. The dogwoods were blooming along Route 15, and the afternoon light hit the Blue Ridge just right. But I barely noticed. I pulled into Mom's gravel driveway at 3 o'clock. Derek met me at the front door. Not Mom. Derek. She's out with friends, he said, leaning against the doorframe. I looked past him. Mom's Buick was parked in the garage. Her car is right there. Patty drove her. They went to the garden center. I called Patty from the driveway. Did you take Mom somewhere today? No, sweetheart. I've been home all day. When I walked back to the porch, Derek shrugged.
Must have been someone from church. Then she just left. I stayed for an hour. Mom never appeared. Derek made small talk about the Orioles and poured me iced tea I didn't drink. That night, back in my apartment in Richmond, a text came through from Mom's new number. Whitney, I need some space. Please don't come by for a while. The phrasing was wrong. My mother had never used the word space in her life. But Derek was my brother, and I still believed that meant something. Growing up in the Henderson house, there were two kinds of kids. There was Derek, varsity quarterback, homecoming king, the son who made Dad's chest puff out at Friday night games. And there was me, honor roll every semester, worked the register at Creekside Pharmacy after school, graduated summa cum laude from James Madison. Mom clipped my report cards to the fridge. Dad framed Derek's football jerseys on the den wall. I'm not saying I was neglected. I wasn't. My parents loved me. But Derek occupied a different kind of space in our family. He was the story people told. I was the one who stayed after the party to wash the dishes. When Dad got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer 8 years ago, Derek flew in for the big moments. The diagnosis meeting, the surgery, the last weekend. I was the one who drove Dad to chemo every Thursday for 7 months. I sat with him in those vinyl chairs while poison dripped into his arm, and he told me about the summer he met Mom at a county fair. After Dad passed, I handled the medical bills. $12,000 the insurance didn't cover. I paid it out of my savings over 14 months. Nobody asked me to. Nobody knew I did it. I still have the receipts in a manila envelope in my filing cabinet. At the memorial dinner, Aunt Karen, Dad's older sister, 65, silver hair, voiced like a church bell, put her hand on Derek's shoulder and said loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Derek gave up everything to be close to your mama."
What's your excuse, Whitney? I was standing right there. I'd just written the last check to Mercy General 2 days before. I didn't say anything. I never did. That was the pattern. Derek got the credit, I did the work. And I kept letting it happen because I thought blood meant trust. That August, 5 months after Derek moved in, my mother had vanished from her own life. She stopped going to Millfield Baptist, the church she'd attended every Sunday for 30 years straight. Not for snowstorms, not for the flu, not even the week we buried Dad. I called Pastor David. He said Derek had phoned the church office. Mom's not feeling well. She'll be back when she's stronger. I called Dr. Patel's office next. The receptionist checked the system. Mrs. Henderson has canceled her last 3 appointments. Who canceled them? I'd have to check. It looks like someone called on her behalf. I started writing letters. Actual pen-on-paper letters mailed through the post office because Derek couldn't intercept those, or so I thought. I wrote 3 over the next month. None came back, none were answered. September was Mom's birthday, 71. I ordered her favorite yellow roses, 2 dozen, with a card that said, "Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Call me anytime." Whitney, I had them delivered to the house. Derek texted me a photo that evening. Mom sitting at the kitchen table, roses and a glass face, smiling at the camera. She loves them. Thanks, Whit. I stared at that photo for a long time. The smile looked right. The eyes didn't. Mom had lost weight. Her collarbones jutted beneath her blouse. Behind her, the kitchen counter was cluttered with takeout containers and unopened mail. I zoomed in. On the counter, half hidden behind a pizza box, a stack of envelopes. I couldn't read the return address, but the top envelope was from Shenandoah Valley Federal Credit Union, Mom's bank. It sat there unopened, and something in the back of my mind, the part trained by 15 years of reading billing discrepancies, started whispering. I ran the math the way I run hospital audits, dispassionate, column by column. Mom's savings account held $340,000. That was 30 years of teaching, 3 decades of clipping coupons, skipping vacations,
driving the same Buick until the odometer rolled past 200,000. Dad used to joke that Mom could squeeze a nickel until the buffalo screamed. She saved because saving was how she loved us. Every dollar was a promise that her kids would be okay. Her pension brought in $21,100 a month. Social Security added another $1,400, enough for groceries, utilities, property tax, and her medications. The savings account was the safety net, the thing that would pay for assisted living if she ever needed it, $4,000 to $6,000 a month, depending on the facility. Without that savings, she'd run out of options within a year. If Derek was spending Mom's money and I still had no proof, only a growing dread, and I did nothing, here's what would happen. The savings would empty. Mom would have no cushion. If her health declined further, I'd be the one covering the gap on a hospital billing specialist's salary. And if Derek managed to get legal guardianship before I even understood the situation, he'd have total control. But that wasn't the stake that kept me up at night. The real stake was this. My mother might die believing her daughter abandoned her. 18 months of silence. Not because I chose silence, but because someone built a wall between us and told her I put it there. I still didn't have proof. I had instinct and a photograph of an unopened bank envelope. On October 14th at 2:13 in the morning, my phone rang. The caller ID showed a Millfield area code, but it wasn't Derek. It was Patty Greer, and she was crying. "Whitney, you need to come now. Your mama had a stroke. The ambulance just took her."
I was on I-64 South within 12 minutes, 2:15 in the morning, rain sheeting across the windshield, my knuckles bone white on the steering wheel. The Civic's high beams carved tunnels through fog in the Shenandoah Valley. I didn't turn the radio on. I didn't cry. I drove 4 hours and 5 minutes. Millfield Regional, the emergency entrance. I parked crooked across 2 spaces and ran. The woman at the front desk pointed me to the 4th floor, room 412. I took the stairs because the elevator was too slow. The door was half open. Mom lay in the bed, eyes closed, tubes in her arm, a monitor beeping in steady rhythm. The left side of her face drooped slightly. A thin line of drool trailed from the corner of her mouth to the pillow. Derek sat in the corner chair. A paper coffee cup rested on the windowsill beside him. His phone was in his hand. He looked up when I walked in. "Oh, you came." I stood in the doorway, still wearing the sweatpants I'd thrown on at 2 in the morning. "Why didn't you call me?" "I called the doctors. I was handling it." "Mom had a stroke, Derek. Patty called me at 2 a.m. You had 3 hours. He set the phone face down on his thigh. "I was going to call you in the morning. I didn't want to wake you." I looked at my mother, at the monitors, at the IV drip, at Derek's coffee cup. He'd had time to find the cafeteria. A nurse passed behind me in the hallway. I caught her arm gently. "Excuse me? Were you on shift when Mrs. Henderson was admitted?" She nodded. 11:02 p.m. I turned back to Derek. He was already looking at his phone again. The nurse leaned close to my ear. "Just so you know, your brother took your mother's wallet and phone from her belongings bag right after she was admitted. Said he needed to keep them safe." Derek left the room around 7 to get breakfast. I'd been sitting in the other chair for nearly an hour, watching Mom's chest rise and fall, counting the seconds between each beep on the monitor. When her eyes opened, they were glassy and confused. Her right hand twitched against the blanket. The left side of her face barely moved. I slid right hair closer, took her hand. "Mom, it's Whitney. I'm here." She blinked. Her lips parted. A sound came out, rough and broken, like words dragged across gravel. She tried again and again. Then slowly, one syllable at a time, she said it. "He told me you didn't want me anymore." The heart monitor beeped. The fluorescent light above us buzzed. Somewhere down the hall, a cart rattled across linoleum. "Who told you that, Mom?" Her eyes drifted toward the door, toward the hallway Derek had walked down 2 minutes ago. I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I held her hand and I breathed. In through the nose, out through the mouth, the way the grief counselor taught me after Dad died. 18 months. For 18 months, my mother lived in that house believing I didn't care. She sat at that kitchen table, looked at the phone that never rang because Derek made sure it couldn't, and thought her daughter had thrown her away. She spent holidays alone with a man who was robbing her and telling her it was love. I squeezed her hand. "Mom, I called you every single week."
He changed your number. I drove down twice and he told me you didn't want to see me. She closed her eyes. A tear slid from the corner of her right eye into the pillow. I didn't cry. Crying was for later. Right now, I needed to think. Because if Derek lied about me, what else did he lie about? I found the charge nurse at the station down the hall. My mother's personal belongings, her wallet and phone. Where are they? The nurse checked her notes. Her son, Derek Henderson, took them from the belongings back last night. He said he'd keep them in the car. I'd like them back. I'm her daughter. You'll need to speak with him directly. He's listed as primary contact. I went back to the room and waited.
Derek returned at 7:30 carrying a blueberry muffin and a fresh coffee like it was any other morning. I need Mom's wallet, I said. He took a bite of the muffin. It's at the house. Safer there. Bring it here. Why? Mom needs toiletries. I'll pick them up. I can handle that. Derek, give me Mom's wallet. He chewed slowly. 5 seconds of silence. Then I'll look for it when I go home tonight. And her ATM card. His jaw stopped mid-chew for a beat, half a second. Then he swallowed and shrugged. It's in the wallet. Then bring the wallet today. He didn't answer. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling. I walked to the parking lot, sat in my Civic, pulled up the number for Shenandoah Valley Federal Credit Union, an automated menu. Press 1 for accounts. Press 2 for customer service. I need to check the status of a savings account. The account holder is Dorothy Henderson. I'm her daughter, Whitney Henderson. Ma'am, for account access, you'll need to visit a branch in person with valid identification. Where's your nearest branch? Millfield on Main Street, open at 9. I looked at the clock on my dashboard, 8:47. He couldn't look me in the eye when I asked about that card. His jaw had stopped half a second, but I caught it. I turned the key in the ignition. The Millfield branch of Shenandoah Valley Federal sat between a hardware store and a diner on Main Street. I walked in at 9:03 with my driver's license, my birth certificate, and a knot in my stomach. The branch manager, Russell Cahill, was a broad-shouldered man in a navy blazer who shook my hand like he meant it. I told him my mother was in the hospital. I told him I needed to see her savings account activity. He asked for my ID, checked the system, pulled up Dorothy Henderson's account. Then he went quiet for a moment, the kind of quiet that has weight. Let me print this for you, he said. The printer hummed. 14 pages slid into the tray. I sat at his desk and started reading. The first withdrawal, $800, 3 days after Derek moved in. Then $500, $1,200, $2,000. The amounts climbed like stairs. Some weeks had 3 transactions, some had 5. ATM pulls, counter withdrawals, Zelle transfers, debit purchases. All from one account, all in 18 months. 247 transactions. Total withdrawn, $340,000. Account balance, $43.17. My hands were steady through page 10. By page 12, they weren't. I turned to page 14, the last page, and read the final line. ATM withdrawal, $300. Timestamp, 11:47 p.m. Location, ATM, Mercy General Hospital. My mother was admitted to that hospital at 11:02 p.m. 45 minutes. He'd waited 45 minutes while she was being wheeled into the ER, walked downstairs, and pulled $300 from the ATM in the lobby. I set the paper down. Russell cleared his throat. There's one more thing. The mailing address on this account was changed 16 months ago. Statements rerouted to a P box. He turned his monitor toward me. Box 2247. Registered to Derek Henderson. $43.17. That was all that remained of my mother's entire life. I'm going to pause here for a second, because when I was sitting in that bank staring at those 14 pages, I thought about every phone call my brother didn't let me make, every visit he blocked, every lie he told my mother about me. If you've ever had someone in your family weaponize your absence against you, you know exactly what I felt in that chair. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. And if this story is hitting close to home, hit subscribe, because what I did next, I need you to hear it. Now, back to the story. I checked into the Millfield Motor Inn that afternoon. $49 a night, floral bedspread, a window unit that groaned like it had opinions. I spread all 14 pages across the bed and opened my laptop. This is what I do for a living. I reconcile hospital billing statements. I match procedure codes to insurance payouts.
I find the line that doesn't belong, the charge that slipped through, the decimal in the wrong column. 15 years of training my eyes to catch what doesn't fit. I highlighted in yellow for ATM withdrawals, pink for point-of-sale purchases, green for electronic transfers. Then I started building a spreadsheet. Date, amount, location, category. The pattern came into focus within an hour. $28,000 in Zelle transfers to an account under the name Megan Torres. And never heard that name. I searched Derek's Facebook. There she was, tagged in a photo from June, his arm around her at a rooftop bar in Charlottesville.
his new girlfriend, funded by our mother's retirement. $15,000 in payments to Bet Rivers, an online gambling platform, spread across dozens of small transactions, 50 here, 200 there. Then a single charge of $3,000 on a Friday night. $47,000 in credit card payments, all to cards in Derek's name. A $6,200 purchase at Blue Ridge Motors. I cross-referenced the date with Derek's Instagram. 2 days later, he'd posted a photo of a silver Dodge Charger with the caption, "Fresh Start." My mother's fresh start money. Her 30 years of teaching, her coupon clipping, vacation skipping, nickel-squeezing savings turned into gambling debts, a girlfriend's Venmo, and a muscle car. I saved the spreadsheet, backed it up to my cloud drive. Then I pulled 3 counter withdrawal slips Russell had photocopied, the ones requiring a signature. Mom's name was on each one, but the handwriting tilted wrong. The loops were too tight. The capital D in Dorothy looked nothing like the way she'd always written it. I photographed everything. I found Claire Whitmore's name on the Virginia State Bar website at 1 in the morning, sitting cross-legged on that motel bed with